Hi, welcome to another video. Today I'm taking you to the end of the world. So let's hop into Nessie and get going. Along the way, I explore some of the charming heritage towns of South Australia's lower mid-north. You see, I love maps, and sometimes, just for fun, I pore over maps. And I was in Adelaide and I was planning to go north, and I was looking at my route and I spotted something. I spotted this town called World's End, and it had me intrigued. What would I find at World's End? Why would it be called World's End? So today we're traveling up to a place called World's End, and we're going to see what it's like at the end of the world. First stop on this trip to the end of the world is the mining town of Kapunda. This is where, in the old days, they used to mine copper. And they're pretty proud of their old mining heritage here. How about this lovely street art that's painted on the side of the pub? This building behind me was the former Baptist church, built in 1866. These days it serves as the town museum. Isn't that beautiful? A statue of a soldier writing a love letter to his loved one back home. There's a mural here in town dedicated to Sir Sidney Kidman. Kidman was a horse trader and eventually became like the Baron of the Outback. He ended up owning a huge number of cattle stations and became very wealthy. He was a bit of a pioneer of outback cattle raising, grazing, whatever you do with cattle out there. He was known as the Cattle King, and he was the greatest pastoral landholder in modern history. Well, he lived in this town from the 1880s for about 20 or 30 years before he moved down to Adelaide. So there are a few references to Sir Sidney Kidman here in this town. Actress Nicole Kidman, she's from the Kidman family, some sort of descendant. To put that Kidman pastoral holdings in perspective, his pastoral holdings, which were private cattle farms, many of them were larger than half of the European countries. This is a surprising little town. I didn't expect to see any of this here. Apparently they have a Celtic music festival annually. I'll look up when that happens. And according to the signs here, it says it's Australia's longest running Celtic music festival. So hey buddy, what was it like mining in the 1840s and 1850s? Okay, he doesn't have much to say. It's also rustic and rural, which are maybe nice words for run down. But I like that. Decay has charm in a weird way, but I like it. And in Kapunda, they love to play games in the main street.
Don't show me up, mate.
Oh, there you go. One more.
Shot.
Oh, winner!
Say no, not like you, I don't think that you get it. You should go and get out, I'll make you regret it. Someone like you should worry about, maybe it's you's upside down. And I'm not like you, I don't think that you get it.
Just off the highway a few kilometres, I've come to an old sheep station called Anlaby Station. This is the oldest merino sheep station in South Australia, and it's a remarkable heritage place. So this property has 10 acres of gardens and 2,000 acres, which is a sheep farm. So on this property, in its heyday, more than 100 people lived here because they were servicing the house. There were people that lived in the house, there were blacksmiths, there were gardeners, there were people that looked after the sheep. It's basically was its own little village. And you can stay in these cottages. There's a couple of little cottages here, a gardener's cottage and a coachman's cottage. And then we have the manor house here. So I'll put a link down below to the website, and if you're interested, come and have a look, and you can stay for a night or two. I think it'd be amazing. So as I'm driving on my way to World's End, I'm wondering why they called it that. And I'm guessing the original inhabitants made their way probably on carts and horses and foot all the way up from Adelaide, and it's several hundred kilometres, and they would have travelled through fairly dry marginal farming country, and when they got there probably decided that was pretty much the end of the known world. Next town on the road is the tiny town of Eudunda. This would have been quite grand once upon a time, but it's pretty much just an abandoned old building now. And on top of a small hill, there's a lookout. Personally, I love these old towns. It's a shame that they're half empty because I think they're full of character, and it would be lovely to see them be revived. It's probably just hard given economic circumstances and what life is like out here, about 100 and something kilometres north of Adelaide. And here's a little tribute to Collins Hill, the author. I knew the name. He made he wrote the famous book Storm Boy, which became a film. Well, here's the old railway station. I reckon here. These are known as the Storytime solos by artist Sam Brooks, and there's a beautiful story associated, basically connecting children, stories, country. Also, Collins Hill is memorialised on here. He's a famous South Australian children's author from memory. Even the highway up here is called the Teal Highway. I'm guessing that's also in reference to the author Collins Hill. So I'm guessing he had something to do with this town, lived in this area, or wrote about this area. I didn't do research, and you can tell. There's a definite sense that Eudunda was quite a thriving town at one point. But I've met a local, and I just want to know, what's the best thing about Eudunda?
A big question. I mean, the silos up the road, painted in 2021, so
Yes.
3 years ago now, but they're bright and full of colour, telling the story of Aboriginal history in the area and the link with European settlements in the area too. So it's
Yes.
a visual display of our history.
Yes.
The gardens too, volunteer run too, so there's really well maintained. Lots of storyboards going all the way through,
Yeah.
made by local artists. So
Awesome.
fantastic showcase there too, and the bakery as well. It's always a good spot to give a bite to eat. Yeah.
Okay, I better drop in and check that out. And also, one last question: what's the connection between Collins Hill and the town?
Collins Hill was born in Eudunda in 1920. So
Okay.
in a sort of not a hospital, a private hospital north of Eudunda.
Yeah.
In 1920.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he
Oh.
went to school here as well later on.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that was his town.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I've come to the History Society. Is that where we are?
The Eudunda Family Heritage Gallery.
There you go, the Eudunda Family Heritage Gallery. It was actually closed, but these lovely people have opened up and let me in, and that's really lovely. So I can show you now. Well, they've done a great job. There's family histories, schools of the area, you can see here. Churches, I saw somewhere. The hospital. You people with your smartphones wouldn't understand what that is, but in the old days, I'm talking, before I was born, this is how they had to make a telephone call. They would buzz in. Somebody here at the switchboard would then have to unplug from here to old Mrs. Smith over here and make the connections. And then that way you could actually make your telephone call. That's so cool. This is the local telephone exchange. There you go. So Eudunda clearly is a town that prides itself on its history, and that's great to see. What a lovely, friendly town. I love outback Australia, country Australia. It's very cool. People are so welcoming and so proud of their towns. Okay, I better pop into this bakery because if you know me, I love my coffee and I haven't had one since this morning, so it's time. So I've come into the bakery because the local said this is one of the best places in town, and it's the bee's knees, literally. That is called a bee's knee. So I'm going to try that in a second. So I've got my coffee. Great, I was so hanging for that. And the bee's knees. And I reckon Eudunda's the bee's knees. It's pretty cool here, I like it. Wow, that's pretty good. I like it. It's caramel and vanilla and stuff. Beautiful. Well, that's a little look at the town of Eudunda. It's a nice little town. I like this town. Thumbs up for the Eudunda. Now, we're on our way to World's End. Wow, I can tell you already, it really does have an end of the world kind of feel about it. Look at this. I can't believe there's actually a highway to World's End. It's literally, it's called the, honestly, it's called the World's End Highway. There's a highway to the end of the world. Who would have thought? All around this area there are signs of where people came here with hopes and dreams of making their life on the land and then struggling because of the climate here is very dry and ultimately failing. Okay, we turned off the highway. We're heading into what they call the Hallelujah Hills, and we're nearly there. So what will you find at the end of the world? Well, at World's End, you'll find a campground, a drop toilet, and a whole bunch of grey nomads. So what's at World's End? Pretty much nothing. But then what did you expect? You think the world was going to just end there and we'd just fall off or something? No, it's World's End, all right. So that's it, a tiny gorge at the end of the world. I guess they say it's the journey, not the destination. That's why it takes so long to make videos.